Challenge your potential and the sky's the limit. Join me, Emily Ibbott, in a diary to empower. From a starting point of a love for dance, my life has evolved, but along the way, I've learned so much in how we develop, learn and grow from those around us to elevate us even further on. Be inspired and be open to learn, and no limit will ever exist. Come along with me on my own journey in personal development, but with guests who have empowered me and are still doing so in my own journey. Hello and welcome back, and thank you again for tuning in if you are listening. So I have the lovely Susie with me today, and on the last pod I spoke a little bit about, with Emily, priorities and sort of being busy and fitting in fitness and sort of just prioritizing those goals as well. And I think it's a great subject to talk about, you know, when we are really busy, and things can be chaotic, and, you know, we're all human, and also being a mumma and being a parent and just fitting it in. Now, I work with Susie at Jets in Farnborough. We both do sort of a lot of teaching, and Susie does a lot of boot camp stuff around that, and Susie is also an absolute machine. So we're just going to sort of talk about how you got into it, and also like sort of being a mum and sort of working things around it, because it can get a little bit chaotic, and I guess it's just trying to sort of fit things in around that. So where did you begin? Obviously we spoke a little bit just before we came on.
Yes, so I started as a dancer as well. From when I was 4, I started doing ballet, and then I went away to stage school. So I was at boarding school when I was 11.
Amazing.
And I loved it. I wanted to go because of Enid Blyton books, and I always wanted to go to boarding school. So I did.
Magical.
And then I went to dance college, and then just before I left when I was 19, I hurt my knees. So that was the end of that. So I'd always been active, but I didn't really maintain it.
Did you do much gym stuff during that time?
No,
not at all.
I've had so many gym memberships that I was paying for and not going, in all the different places I've lived.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people. But yeah, it was never a priority. I think I just kind of was relatively fit, relatively active from all of my years of dancing, but never.
You don't really think about it in that way either. Like
No, I kind of did stuff, but I didn't love it for sure.
Yeah.
And then I started doing boot camp because my sister-in-law's hen do, they did pole dancing. We did pole dancing.
Oh, that's so fun.
It was really fun. And I'd done it for my own hen do, and I loved it. But her wedding was quite a lot of years after, and I was really worried that I wouldn't be any good at it. And I wanted to be able to do it. I wanted to be good at it.
Yeah.
So that was what kind of kick-started me doing.
Oh, so you did boot camps in the lead up to sort of, amazing.
To get in shape for a hen do.
Oh, fun.
Because, I knew that I'd enjoy. One of the reasons I liked it so much at mine was because I could do it. I could hold my weight. I could spin around. And so I kind of got more out of it than some people who.
And I guess an achievement. And it's like trying different things as you like sort of get older. I remember like I was never into the gym, especially when I was doing all my dancing and stuff, but I wanted to feel a bit stronger, and I was like, let's just give this a go. And sometimes when you try things, you're then like, actually this is actually quite fun.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So that was what started me with boot camp. And then there was just kind of always one more thing, and I kept saying to my husband, I'm just going to train for this, and then once that's over, then I'm going to stop. But that just kind of spiraled out of control.
Yeah, you could just kind of like, and again, you chase those things. I guess the same as you're performing, you get that sort of adrenaline rush, and it all comes into it as well, which is pretty cool. And boot camps are, like you say, like, they're a performing aspect as well, and they're fun, and again, nothing's the same. And I've always thought like HIIT training and obviously dancing and performing is actually very similar, because your heart rate spikes at different points. Whereas obviously, like, I am not a runner, never will be. And it's the consistency I find really hard on the heart rate. Whereas you're so used to like sort of those spikes here and there, and sort of then, okay, coming down, quick recovery. Okay, now we're going back again. And that's always really good. So you did that for quite a long period of time and just stuck with the boot camp stuff?
Yeah. And then, so I'd just been doing boot camp, and then I was I'd gone to see the owner of the company that I do boot camp with, because they donated some free sessions for my children's school raffle.
Oh, amazing.
So I'd just gone to collect them, and I was kind of feeling a bit about my job, and I thought, well, I might as well just ask as I'm here. So I was literally walking out the door and I said, can I just ask something? And he said, yeah, of course. And I said, I want to change my job and I think I want to do something to do with fitness, but I don't really know what. And I just wondered if you've got any ideas.
Yeah.
And by the end of that conversation, I was signing up to become a fitness instructor so that I could work for him.
Yeah. I love that. And I always think, you know, just have that conversation. I mean, it's how I started the podcast, really. You just don't know where.
Thing. I could have just thought, oh, well, I'll do it another time. But I didn't. And now I'm so glad that I did.
Amazing. So that's still the same place you're with now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So now I've got my own, it's a franchise. I've got my own park. So I did the qualification that you need to do that side of it.
Yeah.
But then once I'd done it, I felt like I didn't really know enough. So then I went and I did my personal training qualification. I didn't want to do personal training. I just wanted to
have it under your belt. Yeah. And it's that knowledge and just understanding a little bit more about it as well.
I didn't think I knew enough at all. I think you never really...
You don't
you could
until you start.
More.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. And you don't really learn until you're sort of in it.
I know.
Same with the instructing, like fitness instructing, especially the qualifications. You're then like, oh, like, I'm not... Like, it's quite basic. And then until you actually start teaching people and working with people hands-on, you're like, oh, this is how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's so
and
different.
same with the level 3 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, level 2, I learned how to do a gym induction. Well, I've never done a gym induction.
Yeah.
And that's all I learned how to do. But, you know, it's the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. So then when did you become a mama?
My children are 14 and 11. So that was before my sister-in-law got married. So I've had children for the whole of my fitness life.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we were saying before, I'm really glad that I never had to deal with the kind of getting back to it after having children.
Yeah.
I think it was really
a
lot easier for me.
Did you sort of train sort of during pregnancy as well, like throughout, or not really? Just sort of gave the body the rest it kind of needed, I presume.
Yeah, it was only after having them that I kind of really got into doing anything. And I'm lucky my husband is happy to look after them. He's always very supportive.
Yeah.
And his work hours work around, you know, I don't need to be out of the house at the same time that he's committed to being at work or whatever. So I'm really lucky because those two things make it much easier than for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, I've injured myself.
Poor Susie's dislocated her shoulder over the weekend.
And it's like already. So that was on Saturday, and already I'm like, so I have to be able to move and do something. Otherwise, I just go stir crazy and I won't sleep. So it's quite good that I've got to the point where I have to be active because it means I have to be active.
Yeah. And I think it just shows as well to sort of, it's just a case of starting, because even when you first started your bootcamp stuff, you probably didn't know like that you'd necessarily still be doing it now.
No.
And I think that, you know, and you just got that little bit more, and it's just starting with something small, bit by bit. And especially now you've got like, obviously your kids are a bit older now, they're at senior school. So how did you manage, obviously I know you sort of with your husband as well, like was it difficult to just try and fit things in, probably when they were a lot younger?
When they were younger, it's really hard because you're needed a lot more.
I guess you're relied on, whereas as soon as they get older,
they're very happy for me not to be there now. But yeah, when they're tiny, I wanted to be there as well. So it was really hard. But then you have to find, you know, there's...
And was that I say this in a lot of my pods and to my clients and my team every day, like that was your you time that I guess you probably wanted to try and squeeze in somewhere, even if it was like, I don't know, probably a short amount of time.
Yeah, definitely. Just not having questions and hands and, you know, all of that for a short amount of time. And that makes a difference because, and I know lots of people will say it, if you don't fill your own cup or whatever that saying is.
That one. You can't pour out into others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I'm totally done, and I might feel like I'm doing the right thing by being there and listening to everything they need, but actually if
I guess there's a little bit of, well, it probably feels like guilt. Obviously I can't relate because I don't have children, but you know, like and my cousin with my godson, you know, sometimes you don't want to ever leave their side at all. And even for like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes where you're just sort of, it can be difficult. But then again, you could give more to them when you've got your own sort of workouts.
You know, you can kind of just, depending on their age and whether they can open doors and stuff, take yourself into another room do, you know, there's so many apps and stuff that you can use now if getting to a gym is just a no-go.
Yeah.
And also, not everyone likes a gym.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. And the thing is now, like, even with the things that you can do with bands, the stuff that you've got on YouTube, like if you've just got a mat, or, you know, there is so much you can do, especially as well, just to fit something in that's without making you feel like you need to climb Mount Everest.
Yeah, that's the thing. And something I read a while ago, and I've seen it loads of places, like people saying, what is the best exercise, or what's the best type of training? What is, if you could only do one, what's the very best type of training? And it's like, it's the one that you will do.
And the one that you like as well, yeah.
So if I said that press-ups are the best exercise, like scientifically, that makes no difference to anybody if I'm not going to ever do a press-up. I don't get me anywhere.
No, 100%. And I think that's the massive misconception within fitness, is that, you know, you have to do this or you have to do that. And even in bodybuilding, you know, I've had multiple conversations this week with people being like, oh, you know, should you do the full range, or should you do a shorter range of motion, or how many reps is the perfect? There isn't, you know, obviously there are techniques that, you know, can be suited for depending on what goal you have, but again, there is no one size fits all. And if it's doing what you want it to do, then, you know, that's what you want to happen. And if it's feeling a little bit fitter, a little bit stronger, it makes a big impact on the long term as well.
Yeah, one of my favourite photos of me with my children is when my daughter was probably about a year. So my son was 3.5. And I had her in one of those carriers on my front, and I had him on my shoulders. And I like the fact that I was able to do it. It made my life easier because neither of them, she couldn't walk. He was not interested in walking at that point for whatever reason. And it just, the fact that I could do that, I could carry them both. I wouldn't want to do it a lot, obviously. But yeah, those are the sorts of things, in terms of
really
being a
sat
mum,
back.
Those are the things that really stand out. Like, I can go and play football with my son. He's a lot better at football than me, a lot better. But I can keep going. I can keep running around.
Yeah, because they've got endless energy.
Yeah. And I want him to, you know, he doesn't want to do loads of stuff with me. And if that's something that he wants to do, I want to be able to do it with him.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to say, I mean, I am at the moment, it's rubbish. But I don't want to have to say, I just can't, I'm a bit, you know, whatever. Yeah. Those are the things that are really important. And I
not
think
the
reason I started, but a good reason for keeping going.
And I think that really hones it into those special sort of moments. And you do see or hear so many stories where people are, oh, I wish I could do that with my kid, or, you know, and actually it's really like empowering. And, you know, I've worked with clients as well that those tiny goals that actually make the biggest impact on their daily life. Is a huge thing. And that's so nice. And like you say, you can share those moments as well, and you don't feel like, you know, the sort of too many aches and pains coming in, bar the dislocated shoulder. And so did that change as they were growing up? Did you just do more? Or if obviously, because when they're really young, it was probably harder to fit the time in, but as they got older, were you able to give more time to that?
Yeah. And I've taken on more kind of fitness related jobs. So I'm doing more of that and spending more time, because I'm a very, very much an early morning person. So I can get out of the house, do
Susie,
everything.
If she is not up at 5 a.m, she's not a happy bunny. It's true. I know that for a fact.
It's true. And it's and some people are like, oh my God, you're good. And it's not that at all.
No.
It's that that is my favourite part of the day. And it didn't used to be. And there was a period when I was really not loving it, but I wanted to have that bit of time.
And also it's that, and I loved this when I'm not as a 5 a.m. person as much as I was in prep, because I had to do it every day. But it's that, like, everyone else is asleep, the world is asleep, and I'm not, and I'm just getting it done.
I know,
and
I love
nothing's going to disturb that. And that's probably the same, obviously, you know, everyone at home is where they need to be. I can do my stuff, and then I'll come back and sort of then give to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I wouldn't, and I don't, on the days if I've ever not been able to get up and do something first thing, I will talk myself out of it, whatever it is, even if it's something that I know I'm going to enjoy. I'll come up with some excuse. I'm not some like maniac, does it all, super dedicated, super motivated. I do it because I like doing it, and if I don't do it then, I won't do it, because actually I'm a very lazy person.
And I've got the perfect example of the consistency of this. So the other week, I teach a 6:30 a.m. J series. As Susie came in, she was like, I'm a little bit worse for wear. I had a few too many gins last night. She was still there.
It was awful, though. I felt absolutely terrible.
But I bet you got back and you were like, at least I've done it.
Yeah.
And and I think, and I was saying to Em yesterday, we can all be lazy, and we can all enjoy that chill out time. But it's nice to know, and that's the bonus of when you do it early in the morning. It means that nothing else can disturb it. You've done it, and you've conquered the world, of what it feels like anyway when that workout or cardio, whatever it is that's been done. So did you got more into the early starts as sort of...
Yeah, I can't really remember when.
I guess you have school runs and stuff. I know you don't as much now, but...
I made the decision at some point, maybe a few years ago, that I wanted to be an early morning person.
Yeah.
And for, I don't know, months probably, it was horrible. And I hated it.
Time, doesn't it?
And I would make all the excuses then, like, because my boot camp's in the evenings. So I'd wake up on a Tuesday morning and be tired and think, it's probably not a very good idea because I've got to work all the way this evening. So it's probably sensible for me to go back, like, every time. And I really struggled. And now I wake up before my alarm normally.
Amazing.
And I have no problem getting out of bed. I mean, I like to go to bed at like 8:30.
Yeah, I know. That's the only thing. When you become a really early morning riser, the sleep time in the evenings, you get to like 10 p.m. You're like, I am not okay.
I know. My kids are up much later than me.
and it's probably, again, it's what would be your sort of advice to people that are really sort of struggling in terms of fitting things in around school runs, school clubs? I can imagine the list is probably endless. Like, obviously for you, getting up early that's worked for you. But did you ever have any days where sort of as the kids were growing up, in like where you had to just squeeze things in during the day and things?
Yeah, and the first time round when I had COVID, that was quite a good sort of reminder that you can kind of just get on and do it, because I did the test and first thing in the morning and it was positive, and I had kind of just got into, I think I was doing a new program or something, and I was like, oh my God, because the COVID was all new as well. So I was thinking, if I exercise now, I'm going to damage my heart forever. So
and you think no one really knew what was happening either, and what the damage is now.
Yeah, but I just thought, well, I can still walk, and I managed that I'd done 10,000 steps by 3:00 in the afternoon, just by continuously pacing around my house. I thought, if that is all I can do, then that is what I'm going to do.
And I think that is exactly what it's about. Just do what fits in. And obviously you're talking sort of in terms of COVID, but even like in general life, that's what's most important. Like, do something, do what you can, even if it's like 15 minutes around the block outside or whatever, just use that time, because it will make you sort of feel a little bit clearer and fresher as well.
Yeah. And every time that I've been sort of, I don't know if I can be bothered, or if I feel well and all that kind of thing. If I make myself do something, I always feel better. And obviously I haven't so far encountered a situation where I really wasn't well enough, since I've had this mindset, where I really wasn't well enough and it's not done me good. But I'm lucky that I've not been properly ill or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it takes time for that mindset to really shift. And I think people, when they sort of want to aim for a goal or want to aim for just getting a little bit fitter in themselves and just creating those habits for a better lifestyle, it takes such a long time, and your mindset's not going to shift overnight. Like, you're not going to wake up and be like, I am a 5 a.m. person forever now. Like, it's not realistic for yourself as well. So you've got to, if all those times it takes to sort of build those habits up. And, I know I said to a client yesterday, I said, it's first couple of weeks we feel really good, then 4 weeks, okay, there's not really going to be a huge amount of difference. 6 weeks, okay, yes, a little bit, but not massively. It's not until you get to those 12, 16, 18 weeks of being really, really consistent that you really start noticing those changes. And when did that sort of penny drop for you? Sort of in you knowing like, okay, like I'm set here. I'm gonna carry on with this. Like that's sort of into your life, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I was doing boot camp as a participant, I definitely wasn't one of the most dedicated ones, because there would be people who would never ever miss one, and I was not one of those people. I'd go consistently, but not. I would miss them for no good reason.
Yeah.
And probably only, I reckon it was becoming a fitness instructor, just because it made me see things differently. And I don't think you need to be a fitness instructor to be able to get fit, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that I very strongly believe that if I'm asking someone to do something, I should be able to do it myself. Yeah. I should either have done it or be prepared to do it.
It's that walk the walk thing, isn't
exactly.
it? So, and it makes such a difference, because when you're like, and I have this with clients, when you're sort of encouraging them to do something, I know it's tough. Like, I've done it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been there. And it's like, come on, you can do it as well. And it's kind of embedding that mindset, like, come on, like, you've got this, and giving them the belief as well.
Yeah. And I think if people are looking at me and I'm telling them to do whatever it is, and they're thinking, well, you would. I had a woman work for me for a while, and she would tell them what to do, but she wouldn't get down and demonstrate things on the floor in the park. And I understand it's not for everyone, but seeing the way people responded to her, they were like, why? Well, you're not doing it. Why are we going to do it?
You think,
and I think,
okay, I'll just stand here.
So I think that's a big part of it, that I want to be able to ask lots of people, and I need to be able to do it if I'm going to ask them to do it.
I like that. Yeah, and I think, and I say the same with clients, and when we have goals that we want to, sometimes things are a bit of a slog. Like when we work towards things, like, again, say in a lot of my pods, I've got to be a little bit uncomfortable to be able to push further. But it's just kind of like, come on, like, and sort of that sort of spirit that you need as well. And also, like, I say this in the mornings, like, I scream at my classes at 6:30 in the morning. I'm quite a loud class teacher, but I always say, no one would turn up if I was really quiet. You've got to be a little bit like forceful. And do you think as well, like through your fitness journey and just how sort of much you're doing now, do you think that's made an impact on your kids as well? Like, I mean, are they the most active people as much as you?
They both do sport, and they're both active. And my daughter was at gymnastics quite maybe 3 years ago. And they were doing the conditioning part of it, and they were doing press-ups or burpees or something. And my daughter said to her coach, my mum makes me do 20 burpees. And I was like, no, I do not. Don't tell them that. No.
I'm going to be bullied now.
I love the idea that they're showing off to people that I'm a personal trainer, but that's not my mum. No, I
don't. That's so funny. And I guess it does rub off. And I mean, kids are so vigilant, like what they take in is beyond me. And I think it must be such a positive impact to then see how they're really active and doing lots as well, and how that's made an impact.
And when I look at clients and stuff, and I think it's much, much harder to go back from a place of being not so fit, not so healthy, those kinds of things, than to maintain an all right kind of situation. And I just think for my children, I want them to be where they're at and keep going, and that's fine. And, you don't have to do so much to maintain being healthy.
Yeah, hugely. And it's teaching them sort of the basics as well. Like, there's always, you've got, especially like kids that do loads and loads and loads, but like you say, you don't always need to, even from a kid's perspective, it's just kind of like sort of getting them used to, I guess, being outside and just sort of moving a little bit, or, whatever the activity may be. The list is endless for kids now. They've got so much option, especially with schools. And it probably, like, have they ever said anything to you sort of in terms of like what they look up to you doing, or do you have any sit back moments where you're like, oh, like actually like go me?
I think they used to say things more than they do now. Now that they're both at senior school, they're too cool to think that I'm any good. But yeah, they've definitely both said things in the past, And like I've heard them saying to their friends about what their mum does. Again, not for a while. And that does feel really nice. I want them to be, and not, I'm not fussed about them going around showing off to everybody.
Oh,
but
no.
I also want them to know that I'm doing an all right job, and that
and I guess like setting an example for what like is like good and healthy and habits we need to do. Don't get me wrong, we all like sitting there with all the treats and God knows what, but it's then like sort of being like, oh no, like come on, like let's get up and move, and and they probably like getting up to all sorts. I mean, especially if they're so sporty.
That's the other thing about lockdown. Not only was it good for learning you can train in a very small space, because I was doing all of my sessions on Zoom, which I did not care for all that much, but we kind of kept going.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure that all my sessions could be body weight or with like a tin of beans or whatever.
Yeah.
And they took up no space whatsoever. Because I know people had tiny, tiny little flats and they didn't have space, but they wanted to do something. But it meant that I was in the living room with my children, often joining in, not always successfully, not always not getting in the way, but they were witnessing it. They were seeing it happen. And I remember my son joined in, and he really struggled, and I was struggling because it was tough, but I was okay. Yeah. And it was nice seeing him being like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the tables have turned.
Because I think I can remember being a child and racing my uncle, and being really surprised when he beat me, because I thought that kids were always faster than grown-ups because grown-ups are old. So when he beat me and he was just a normal person, I was like, what? So seeing my son realise that actually I can do some stuff that he can't do, I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. And it's like, and we do have that perception that when you're younger, you're just relentless. And it's like, we're all like, there are so many strengths in different people. And it's, I guess, seeing like, for them to see your mindset and where it is must be amazing as well. Like, they probably know that you get up in the mornings and do your thing, and then they just see you when you come home. Which is nice.
Yeah, I do like the idea that and it might be they completely rebel against it, and like kids do, and they don't want to be anything like me, and they lie in bed until midday, which I definitely did that as well. But yeah, the idea that they are seeing that as a way of being. Yeah,
and just sort of not necessarily doing it for everyone in, but just sort of having that time. So I guess like to sort of like sum things up really nicely as well, what would you say to sort of any parents that are wanting to start or struggling to get things in, depending on the age? Like, what would be sort of your advice to sort of, I guess, anyone out there just sort of wanting to do more, but just thinking, I'm never, ever going to have the time to do anything for myself?
Well, depending on the age, there are definitely places where you can exercise with your child. I mean, I did baby yoga with my son, which wasn't a huge like fitness thing, but it meant that he was with me. I could go and do something, stretch a little bit, and he was there. And sometimes I'd like wave him in the air and stuff.
Love that.
So there are things like that. I know you can do family boot camps in some places. If there's no way that you can get away from your child, you can find something to take them to. Or even on television, you can look on YouTube, and there's like dance workouts, or there's so many different things. Stuff. So you don't need to leave your house, you don't need to have loads of equipment, and it doesn't need to be like press ups and burpees, because that's not for everyone. No. And if it's going to be,
I've got one of my clients, she does what's called Get Fit with Rick on YouTube.
I love that.
But for her, like, it seems like quite a lot to do steps outside. So I said, well, make your sort of, we can switch up the route to work because she walks to work. But, okay, let's get a little Get Fit with Rick in. It keeps those steps up, even just to add 2 or 3K.
Yeah.
That's going to be 2 or 3K that you're already doing. Sort of just feeling like, okay, baby or child is around the house and I just need to sort of sit and chill. Like, I'm sure that they can sort of muffle around you sort of if you're doing these things. And there are some fantastic things on YouTube now as well, that people post and all of those things, which is what's great. And it's just starting small, but you don't overwhelm yourself either. Like, so many people think, oh, I must hit 10K, well, actually, if your average is now 2 or 3, why not go for 4 and start there? And you'll actually
do a few more than yesterday.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's such a common thing on all of the conversations that I've been having recently on here. And then I guess obviously where can we find you, because you do your boot camp stuff, obviously you do some classes at Jets,
yes,
but where do you do your boot camps as well?
That is in Reading. It's Boot Camp UK, so there's a franchise, there's loads of parks everywhere, and that is just I love it. I could not love it more.
And it's like circuit based.
Every single session is different. So last night's session was actually a complete shambles. I don't know what I was thinking when I planned it. But last night was kind of in teams of 3, and it was a fun thing. Sometimes they are full on hideous, awful, and sometimes they're games, and sometimes they're it's the aim with that is that people will keep coming back because they don't know what's going to happen, and they might have done one that they thought was awesome and it might happen again, or and if they hated it, if they hated it, then they know they're never going to have to do that workout again, so they can always come back, so it's fine. But that is my absolute passion. I love it.
Yeah. And it's as well, like, especially with classes, and for, I don't know, maybe mums or dads out there, classes can be a great way to just feel a part of like a team, and also that you're not singled out, or you don't have to be in an overwhelming gym. And obviously boot camp, or whether it's classes in the gym or anything like that, it's you can make adaptations, the instructor's there to sort of to facilitate it. And they're a fantastic way to just eke a little bit more, to learn more things, so you kind of get a feel for some of the weight stuff and some body weight stuff, and also what suits. And then you can kind of pick and choose things to maybe take that at home. And there are always so many options in terms of that when things are crazy busy. And some of the classes at gyms are fantastic in terms of the times. Like, there's always that sort of slot before, you've got that evening slot if that sort of suits you better. Some places even do like lunchtime classes or daytime classes, depending on what you sort of do. And that's also such a good way to sort of get into it. And obviously, if you ever sort of having a coach or having a trainer, or, in no matter what form of exercise you're doing, is always really useful, because they can guide you and keep you accountable as well. Because it's probably very easy, and I don't know whether you found this with the kids growing up, like to just be like, whereas I guess as soon as you said you become a fitness instructor, it changes the game in terms of how you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do think, obviously, there are ways that you can do it if you can't get out of the house and all those kinds of things. But if you can join something where because training with other people, you're all in it together. There's that kind of... all
like, we're all going to die, let's go down together.
Struggling together. And it also helps really create a bond with people. When I look at people at boot camp...
And meeting people as well.
Yeah, and there's people that did not know each other before they joined, and now they are really good friends. And I just think it's incredible. And also, there are people who go almost exclusively for the social aspect, and they'll do the workout, but it's, and
also again, that's time away from your fam, like that's time for you. Yeah. Which is, I guess, the biggest thing to take away from this. Things can get hectic and things are busy, but remember, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is better than nothing at all times. And it's starting somewhere, keeping it small, keeping it manageable, fitting it in, and enjoying it as well. We want to have some fun, and maybe die a little bit of struggle.
If you know that you don't do it once and you will never do it again, then it's probably not the one that's going to change your life. Because you have to be able to keep doing it, and whether that's because you love that awfulness of feeling like you're going to throw up, or whether it's because you have a laugh with the people in the class, or whatever it is, if you are going to try and make a change, you have to be able to maintain it.
So that's the thing, consistency at all times, and if you just keep going, more than anything else, like, just don't stop. But thank you so much for joining me, and also talking about these topics that hopefully reach out to people listening. And we all have our struggles of trying to sort of fit things in, but you can do it, promise. But thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next pod. A big thank you for joining me on my channel and tuning in. Find me on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon and YouTube, A Diary to Empower. Follow me on Instagram, m_power.fitness, and TikTok, m.ibert. See you on the next episode.